Right, you've got your Hexacopter box, you've mounted your skids, it's basically these gizmos over here. I'm going to just take these off to show you. Just maneuver them. And the way that they clip on, these rods clip in there, and these push one side on there, and the other side in over there. And the way you're going to do it is basically with the camera mount, one directly behind the camera mount and one directly after those rubber grommets after the section over there. And I'll show you why. Alright, you've mounted your skids, you've mounted your propellers, check them nicely. The next thing that you need to do is you need to mount your GPS. So pop on the first leg on that side. Get into position, pop on the second one, then the next two, and you've got to make sure that this thing is pushed flush against the body of the quad. The reason why is because the distance between this GPS and the flight controller is about 13 centimeters, and I've set that up in the software. If you had to mount it too far, it can cause it to not keep perfect position, and the quad will tend to do what they call toilet boating. But these 5 mils is probably not going to make a difference, but just to be safe. And then last but not least, just pop in these two little rubber grommets at the end here. And then the last thing you need to do is you need to plug your GPS into your flight controller, and there's only one place that it can go, and I think it can only go in one way. Little plastic parts to the bottom, and you just wiggle it in gently until it goes in all the way. And there we have it, set. And when you put your cover on, the cover will be going on that way. And I'll show you that in a minute. Right, so you've mounted your GPS. The next thing that you need to be mindful of is the FPV. You'll take your FPV aerial. This is mounted with Velcro, so you can really reposition it if you want. But I'll show you why I did put them in these positions to begin with. You'll screw on your FPV aerial, make sure it's nice and tight, and you'll notice that this thing can move up and down in different sideways. For now, let's just keep it like that, and there's a reason for that. You'll take your FPV battery and pop it in this way. Basically just centralize it, pull the strap tight. Right. So you velcroed your FPV battery onto this little plate, again just making sure that it's nice and sturdy. This doesn't have to be plugged in anywhere, this is just used for charging. The other little lead can only go into this one little plug on the left hand side, and I normally plug this in last just before I'm ready to fly, because I want this to first pick up the satellites and I don't want the video feed to interfere with it. So once you've plugged your main battery in, and this light stops flashing and you're ready to fly, you can pop this cable in there, and you'll notice the little red light goes on over there to show you that it's on. Now it's providing battery power to your Fatshark system. Just before we're going to do that, I also want to just show you that this is your camera. The FPV camera has been mounted on here with Velcro because there's no other way to do it, and this allows you to see what your main camera is pointing at. There's another system where you can get the Sony via a HD cable to provide video down to the ground, but then you need a HD converter, and that thing just overheats. I used to have one, I got rid of it, and this is all that I've been using now for the last year, and this works perfectly well. So when you've mounted your camera onto the camera gimbal, this cable over here will be plugged in, and again can only go one way, into your Fatshark that way. The red being down the bottom here, as you can see, so that gets plugged into there, and your camera gets mounted onto the camera gimbal, and the camera gimbal's got a nice little screw on it, and you'll notice a little special sponge that I've made for vibration dampening as well. So that's how you mount all your goodies before flying. Once you've done that, you'll notice in the body here, there are some grooves where these things go into. This is always the front. I know it looks like the back, but it's the front. What we'll do, and this is the reason I told you to keep that aerial down, is it goes on literally diagonally like that. Just make sure when you do that, that you keep all your wires as close as you can away from being damaged. Do this with care, of course, and then you lock it in with a clockwise motion. And sometimes when you lock it in with a clockwise motion, these little things tend to get in the way of this plastic here. So maybe you can modify it or cut it, I don't know what you want to do, but it does lock in quite nicely. Another thing that I forgot to mention to you is you'll see there's another cable coming down here. It's got Velcro on it as well. I took my Velcro off and I use duct tape, and what that is that's the infrared that needs to be in front of the infrared port on the camera. So I normally, once I've mounted the camera, I put that on last, and that can work. This is a very bright infrared thing, but it could be in a very, very bright daylight with sun, it may not actually pick it up. So what I do is I still put duct tape over mine, but I don't want to do that on yours in case you chose not to. So that's your infrared command that sends the signal to take the photograph. Stop recording. Your main flight controller, really the brains of the system that runs everything. The bottom of that is the power board where everything is soldered onto, and this is your FPV video feed to the ground, and it's power thing there. Just to show you, once you've connected your top lid, then you can bend your little aerial up like that to give you a better reception. That's why I put it, or you could actually have it going down that way. But you can play with it and see what gives you better reception. I think that might be good, but neither of them is right or wrong. Okay.